At 31, Ethan Cross believed he had finally escaped his past. He lived in Berlin now, worked as a data analyst for an international company, and spent his evenings surrounded by people who knew nothing about where he came from. That was exactly how he wanted it. New city, new language, new life. No questions, no memories. One rainy Thursday night, Ethan stayed late at the office. The building was almost empty, and the soft sound of rain against the windows created a strange calm. He was about to shut down his computer when a notification appeared on his screen. Encrypted file received. Ethan frowned. He didn't recognize the sender. The timestamp showed 3:17 a.m., sent from a time zone that didn't match Berlin or anywhere near it. He should have deleted it, but curiosity had always been his weakness. He opened the file. At first, it looked like random numbers and symbols, but as Ethan studied the pattern, his body went cold. This wasn't random. It was a cipher, one he hadn't seen in years. One he had learned as a teenager, back when his life was very different, when secrets were not something you ran from, but something you lived inside. Slowly, Ethan decoded the message. It contained only one sentence. "If you still remember who you are, come back. We made a mistake." Below it, there was a location. Blackridge. Ethan stared at the screen, his pulse racing. Blackridge wasn't just a place, it was the town he swore never to return to, a town where people disappeared quietly, a town where information was more dangerous than weapons, a town where Ethan learned the cost of knowing too much. He closed his laptop, hands shaking. Someone from Blackridge was reaching out, someone who knew his past, and worse, someone who believed Ethan was the only person who could fix what had gone wrong. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Ethan knew the truth. The life he built was about to collide with the one he escaped. Ethan spent the night in a small motel at the edge of Blackridge. The building looked old but not abandoned, the kind of place where people stayed when they didn't want to be noticed. From his window, he could see the main road leading into town. Very few cars passed. Every sound felt louder than it should. He slept lightly. Every time a car slowed down outside, he opened his eyes. At dawn, he got up, took a shower, and studied his reflection in the mirror. He looked older than the last time he was here. Not just physically, there was something heavier in his eyes. Experience, fear, and control had replaced the careless confidence he once had. Before leaving the room, he checked his phone. No new messages. That worried him more than threats. Blackridge was the kind of place where silence meant activity. The town that acts normal. The town center looked exactly the same as it had years ago. Same bakery, same post office, same cafe on the corner with the faded green sign. People walked calmly, talked quietly, and avoided eye contact just a little too much. Ethan noticed it immediately. They weren't relaxed, they were careful. He entered the cafe. The smell of coffee and warm bread hit him instantly. For a moment, it almost felt comforting. A woman behind the counter looked up. "Good morning," she said. Her smile disappeared the second she recognized him. Just for half a second, but Ethan saw it. "Good morning," he replied calmly. "Long time." She hesitated. "You're back?" "Seems like it." She nodded slowly, poured his coffee, and slid it across the counter. Her hands were steady, but her eyes weren't. "People don't usually come back," she said quietly. Ethan met her gaze. "Some things don't let you go." She didn't answer. Instead, she leaned closer and whispered, "If you're smart, you'll leave before sunset." Ethan didn't smile this time. A name from the past. After leaving the cafe, Ethan walked toward the old industrial area. It was officially closed now, but everyone knew activity still happened there, just not in daylight. As he passed a narrow street, a voice stopped him. "Ethan Cross." He turned. A man stood near a parked car, hands in his coat pockets, mid-40s, short hair, familiar face. "Marcus," Ethan said slowly. "Marcus Hale, once his closest ally, once the person who helped him escape. You look alive. That's surprising." Ethan stepped closer. "You sent the message." Marcus didn't deny it. "We didn't have a choice." "We?" Ethan asked. Marcus glanced around before answering. "The people who are still trying to clean up your mess." Ethan's jaw tightened. "My mess? You're the ones who kept the system running." Marcus exhaled bitterly. "You exposed part of it, not enough to destroy it, just enough to make it angry." They walked together without looking like they were together, two strangers moving in the same direction. "You should have stayed gone," Marcus said. "You shouldn't have contacted me." Marcus stopped walking. "They're rewriting the structure," he said quietly. "Total control, no leaks this time." Ethan felt a familiar chill. "And the mistake?" he asked. Marcus looked directly at him. "They underestimated you." "The files that never died." Marcus took Ethan to a storage building near the edge of town. Inside, behind false walls and outdated equipment, there was a hidden room. Computers, servers, active. Ethan said, "I thought this place was shut down." Marcus laughed bitterly. "That's what they wanted everyone to believe." He pulled up a screen. On it were names, transactions, encrypted communications, and timelines. Ethan leaned forward. "These dates," he said slowly, "they're recent." Marcus nodded. "They never stopped, they just learned to hide better." Ethan scrolled, then froze. One file carried a familiar label. Cross Protocol, his own work, his unfinished system. "They're using it," Ethan whispered. "And twisting it," Marcus replied, "to monitor, predict, and erase threats before they even act." Ethan stepped back. This wasn't about the past anymore. This was about control of the future. The real reason he was called back. Marcus closed the screen. "You're the only one who understands the full architecture, the only one who can break it." "And if I don't?" Ethan asked. Marcus's voice dropped. "Then Black Ridge becomes a model, and other towns will follow." Ethan felt the weight of the choice pressing down on him. Running had kept him alive, but staying might be the only way to stop what was coming. Outside, sirens echoed in the distance. Marcus looked at the door. "They know you're here." Ethan straightened his jacket. "Then," he said calmly, "let's stop pretending." The sirens didn't come closer, but they didn't fade away either. That was what bothered Ethan most. In Black Ridge, noise was rarely random. It was usually a signal, sometimes a warning, sometimes a distraction. Marcus shut down the monitors quickly. "We need to move," he said. "This place won't stay invisible for long." Ethan nodded. His mind was already working, connecting old patterns with new threats. "Where?" Marcus hesitated, just for a moment, but Ethan noticed. "That hesitation," Ethan said calmly, "that's not a good sign." Marcus met his eyes. "There are still safe houses, fewer than before." "And you trust them?" Ethan asked. Marcus didn't answer directly. "I trust time even less." They left the building separately, 5 minutes apart, using different exits. Outside, the sky was heavy with clouds, turning the town into a gray maze of shadows and narrow streets. Ethan walked calmly, not rushing, not looking around too much. Fear made people visible. Control made them disappear. He reached his car and drove east toward the old residential zone. His phone vibrated once. "Turn around, wrong direction." "Marcus." Ethan didn't slow down. Instead, he turned into a side street, parked, and waited. 2 minutes later, a black sedan passed slowly. Not police, not locals, private. Ethan's jaw tightened. So it had already begun. The first betrayal. The safe house was an old printing shop, officially closed for years. Marcus arrived 10 minutes after Ethan, looking tense. "You were followed," Ethan said. "Yes," Marcus admitted, "but not closely enough." Ethan locked the door behind them. "You're lying again." Marcus turned sharply. "You think I don't know what this looks like?" "I think,"
Ethan replied, "that you didn't tell me everything." Silence filled the room. Finally, Marcus spoke. "They made an offer." Ethan didn't react. "To you?" "Yes." "To give me up." Ethan said. "To end this quietly." "And you said no." Marcus didn't answer immediately. "That pause again," Ethan said softly. "You really need to work on that." Marcus slammed his fist against the table. "You think I wanted this? People are disappearing again, Ethan. Real people, families. I tried to protect what I could." "And you chose survival over truth," Ethan said. Marcus looked away. "Like you did when you left." The words hit harder than expected. Ethan stepped back, breathing slowly. "I left because staying would have meant becoming like them." "And now?" Marcus asked. Ethan looked him directly. "Now I'm here to finish what I started." Caught between two systems. Before Marcus could reply, the power went out. Darkness. Then footsteps outside. Slow, controlled. Ethan moved instantly, pulling Marcus behind a metal shelf. He recognized the rhythm of the steps. Trained, coordinated. Not amateurs. "They found us," Marcus whispered. "No," Ethan replied. "They let us arrive." A voice came from outside the door. "Ethan Cross, you always preferred direct confrontation. We were counting on that." The door didn't open. Yet. Ethan leaned closer to Marcus. "How many exits?" "One," Marcus said. "Through the back. Leads to the drainage tunnels." Ethan smiled slightly. "Good. Old infrastructure." The voice outside continued. "You can run, but you can't disappear anymore. Not in a connected world." Ethan felt something settle inside him. This wasn't panic. It was clarity. He whispered to Marcus, "When we move, we don't split." Marcus nodded. Ethan kicked the back door open. They ran. The tunnels smelled of rust and water. They moved fast, lights off, relying on memory and instinct. Behind them, voices echoed. Orders, coordination. They weren't trying to kill him. They wanted him alive. That was worse. At a junction, Marcus slowed down. This way leads out of town. That way leads deeper. Ethan stopped. Running would keep him alive. Staying would put everything at risk. Marcus looked at him desperately. "You don't owe this place anything." Ethan thought of the files, the system, the towns that could follow Blackridge. "I owe the future something." He turned toward the deeper tunnel. Marcus followed. Behind them, the voices grew closer, and for the first time since returning to Blackridge, Ethan felt certain. There was no safe way out anymore, only the right way forward.
They didn't make it far. The tunnel split into 3 paths, each darker than the last. Ethan chose the left one instinctively, counting steps, memorizing turns. Years ago, he would have trusted logic. Now, he trusted patterns, and this place was built on old mistakes. A sharp light exploded behind them. "Down!" Ethan shouted. Marcus fell forward just as a stun round hit the wall, sending sparks and dust into the air. The sound echoed violently through the tunnels. More footsteps followed. Too many. They were surrounded. Ethan raised his hands slowly, stepping into the light. Marcus did the same, breathing hard. Armed men emerged from the darkness, faces calm, movements precise. No official symbols, no official markings. That told Ethan everything. They were not here to arrest him. They were here to contain him. A room without a name. Ethan woke up in a chair. Metal, cold, bolted to the floor. His wrists were free, which surprised him. The room was clean, modern, and completely silent. No cameras visible. No windows, just a single table and a glass wall that looked dark from the inside. He tested the chair. Immovable. "So this is how it starts now," Ethan said calmly. "Minimal drama." The glass wall lit up. A man appeared on the other side. Late 50s, gray hair, expensive suit, relaxed posture. "Well," the man said, smiling slightly, "you always did hate unnecessary force." Ethan studied him. "You're not field." "No," the man agreed, "I'm oversight." That was worse. "My name is Jonathan Reeve," the man continued. "You don't know me, but you've worked for people who answer to people like me." Ethan leaned back as much as the chair allowed. "So this is unofficial?" Reeve nodded. "Entirely." "Good," Ethan said. "Then I don't have to lie." Reeve laughed softly. "You were never good at lying anyway." Control through conversation. Reeve sat down on his side of the glass. "You created something remarkable," he said, "a predictive system that identifies threats before they exist." "I created a defensive framework," Ethan corrected him. "You weaponized it." Reeve didn't deny it. Perspective. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Where's Marcus?" Reeve smiled again. "Safe for now." That answer was carefully chosen. "You brought me back because the system is unstable," Ethan said. "It's feeding on itself." Reeve leaned forward. "Exactly. You understand it better than anyone, and we need you to fix it." "And if I refuse?" Reeve shrugged. "Then it fixes itself, poorly, and a lot of innocent people get flagged as acceptable losses." Silence stretched between them. "So you want my cooperation," Ethan said, "under threat of mass damage." "We prefer to call it responsibility," Reeve replied. Ethan exhaled slowly. They hadn't broken him. They had tried to corner him. The real leverage. Reeve tapped the table. A new screen appeared. Images. Marcus sitting in another room, bruised, alive. "You care about him. That's your weakness." "No," Ethan replied. "That's your mistake." Reeve raised an eyebrow. "And you don't see the structure," Ethan continued. "You brought me here alive. You're talking instead of forcing. That means the system can't run without me." Reeve's smile faded slightly. "And that," Ethan said calmly, "means I still have leverage." The room felt colder. Reeve stood up. "You always did enjoy dangerous logic. Very well, we'll do this properly." The lights dimmed. "You will work with us," Reeve continued, "but you will also show us where the system breaks." "And Marcus?" Ethan asked. Reeve paused. "We'll see how useful he remains." Ethan closed his eyes for a brief second. Not in fear, in focus. A decision made in silence. As Reeve left, the glass went dark again. The room returned to silence. Ethan stared at the empty wall. This was not victory. This was not defeat. It was access, and access was dangerous for them. Somewhere deep in the system, hidden under layers of control, Ethan knew there were weaknesses, old assumptions, forgotten logic paths. They thought they had captured him. What they had actually done was give him a direct line into the machine. Ethan opened his eyes. "Let's see," he whispered to the empty room. "How much of this still belongs to me?" When they finally moved Ethan, it wasn't with handcuffs or guards pulling him down hallways. That would have been too obvious, too crude. Instead, they gave him access. A clean room, a desk, 3 screens, 1 keyboard, and a quiet understanding. You are here to work. Jonathan Reeve stood behind him as the system loaded. "You'll find the environment familiar," Reeves said calmly. "We kept your original architecture." Ethan didn't turn around. "You kept what you understood." The interface appeared. Dark background, layered modules, real-time data streams flowing like veins across the screen. Ethan's heart rate increased slightly, not from fear, but from recognition. This was his mind, rebuilt, distorted, weaponized. They call it Orion now, but at its core, it's still yours." Ethan's fingers hovered above the keyboard. "Before I touch anything," he said, "I want guarantees." Reeves smiled. "You don't have leverage here." Ethan finally looked at him. "You wouldn't have brought me into the system room if that were true." Silence. Reeve nodded once. "Marcus remains alive as long as cooperation continues." Ethan turned back to the screen. "Then let's begin." Reading the lies in the code. Ethan didn't start by changing anything. That would have been suspicious. Instead, he read. He followed data paths, checked logic chains, and studied how decisions were made. Orion didn't just analyze behavior, it predicted intent. It labeled people as potential disruptions before they ever acted. Journalists, organizers, engineers, anyone who thought differently. This isn't security, it's preemptive control. Ethan watched closely. Control is just security that works. Ethan said nothing. He found it quickly. A section of code buried deep inside the behavioral weighting system, a recursive trust function, something he had once written as a theoretical idea, never meant to be implemented. They implemented it anyway. Worse, they expanded it. Orion trusted its own conclusions more than real-world input. Feedback loops fed predictions back into the model, reinforcing assumptions without external correction. A closed system. A machine convinced it was right. Ethan felt a slow, dangerous smile form. That's how you break gods, he thought. Building a ghost path. Instead of attacking the system, Ethan did something smarter. He added to it a diagnostic layer, perfectly logical, perfectly justified, impossible to reject. "I'm creating a stability monitor," Ethan explained aloud. "It will reduce false positives." Reeve nodded approvingly. Good. What Reeve didn't see was the second function hidden beneath it, a ghost path. Ethan used Orion's own trust model against itself. He created a scenario where the system had to evaluate its own predictions as potential threats. Not now, not suddenly, gradually. The system would begin questioning itself, and machines were very bad at doubt. Marcus breaks the pattern. Hours later, Ethan was escorted to a short break area. That's where he saw Marcus again, sitting across from him, hands shaking slightly, eyes tired but alert. "They let you see me on purpose," Marcus said quietly. "Yes," Ethan replied. "They want me compliant." Marcus laughed weakly. "Working?" "Yes," Ethan said honestly, "but not for them." Marcus leaned closer. "You have a plan." Ethan met his gaze. "I need time, and I need you to do something risky." Marcus didn't hesitate. "Name it." "When they question you again," Ethan said, "give them something true." Marcus frowned. "That makes no sense." "It will," Ethan replied. "Truth destabilizes systems built on lies." Marcus nodded slowly. "They're losing patience," he warned. Ethan stood up. "Then we're on schedule." The first crack. Back in the system room, alerts began appearing. Minor ones, internal inconsistencies, prediction confidence dropping by fractions of a percent. Reeve noticed. "The system is behaving differently," he said. Ethan typed calmly. "That's improvement. It's learning humility." Reeve frowned. "Machines don't need humility." "No," Ethan replied softly, "but tyrannies do." That night, alone in the room, Ethan watched Orion question its own output for the first time since activation. Just a small hesitation, barely visible, but irreversible. Ethan leaned back, exhausted but focused. They still believed he was fixing the machine. What he was really doing was teaching it to fail gracefully, and when a system like Orion failed, it didn't collapse loudly, it turned inward and consumed itself.